Hello, I'm Shaukat Murad. I run a corporate service provider in Dubai, the DIFC and ADGM. And I'm very happy to be here today with Tariq as part of the Voices of the Future program.
Thank you. Thank you, Shaukat.
I'm Zia Murad. I'm the Deputy Managing Director of Alpha Management. I'm also happy to be here as part of the Voices of the Future, and hopefully I'll be taking Alpha Management into the future as well.
We're absolutely delighted and privileged to have both Shaukat and Zia together in one room. This is an intergenerational exercise. This is basically building together. This is passing the baton. This is present and future together. This is it's a very interesting dynamic that we now see in the world as the new generation is coming in and taking over. And what we're going to be talking about today in terms of them being voices into the future is how they see their world and what the different perspectives are and so on. In a world of finance, in the world of corporate services, in the world of a young economy here in the UAE, which is absolutely exploding with opportunities and new things happening. And we're going to discuss all of that. Wonderful to see you, gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining us together. I think the dynamic and the play of you together is very unique, and I think we are the only father-son team in the Voices of the Future. So at least that's unique. May I please start with you, Shaukat? You built an amazing business, a beautiful view, lovely environment that you have developed here. Can you take us back to a young Shaukat, a little Shaukat, and sort of what helped to shape you to what you have become? What helped to build that resilience and that that strength within you? Were there a moment in your life with your father or mother or a professor, anything that inspired you?
Okay, thank you. It could be a very long story, but I'll cut it short for you. I became a chartered accountant only because my father decided I would become one.
Yeah.
Those days, as you know, children listen to their parents. And my father was a diplomat. He worked in government. He worked very hard, had quite a few successes in his career. So when I came here, he was my role model. We were not rich. And so whatever I did when I came to London in the early 70s was really through my hard work and efforts. I had no choice. Qualified as a chartered accountant in 1978, and I think the one experience I've had since then was when I joined Price Waterhouse as a newly qualified accountant. They're the ones who really instilled in me the sort of ethics of working very, very hard, having rewards, but the whole concept of working for your living. And of course, the professionalism that goes with a company like one of the big accounting firms. After that, I joined the banking business, spent some time in Bermuda, which was lovely, Guernsey, which was very nice, a bit of time in Luxembourg, which was very nice, and then back in London. And came to a point in my life where I felt I needed to work on my own. I'd been around the offshore world, the banking world. I had experience in the professional world. So we set up a company as an accounting practice over there in London called Johnson's. Developed it from there. It was a very small practice. We grew very well and mainly in the entertainment sector. We did a lot of work in the music business.
Yeah.
Life was good. I've had 3 children. Zia was my second child. London was great. There came a point when I was about 55 when I felt I needed more. And I've been doing business in Dubai since 1983. And as you know, in 1983, Dubai is not what you see today. In fact, Dubai ended at the World Trade Center just down the road. I then decided some years later I'm going to buy a property here because I was encouraged and I was really impressed by the leadership here, particularly the Dubai leadership, Sheikh Mohammed. bought a property here, and one thing led to the other, and I decided to move my business here as well. So we came here in 1972. Sorry, we came here in 2007. And Alpha Management took off since then. My one regret, I think, is that I wish I'd come here 20 years earlier.
Yes.
Came here at the age of 55. And so I'm so glad that my son now has been here for 13 years or so with us.
Yeah.
And he will have the full benefit of living in this environment.
Yeah. And the burdens possibly, and I think we will settle to. Thank you for sharing your journey, and thank you for doing it in such a succinct kind of a way. It is interesting when you suggested that just like you, my parents wanted me to do exactly the same thing, because from our background we just have to follow that path. And in my case, I failed my chartered accountancy exam, so that was one of my big failures. And then I moved down to Dubai thinking, I'll go back and take my exams again, and I didn't. But in my failure is where I learned about humility. And my failure was where I learned about respect. And there are many stories about that. And we'll talk about some failures. You haven't failed, I think. You're just too perfect. And I have many.
We can discuss that later.
Okay. Zia, what about yourself? I mean, you came here when you were a very young man, and you've developed yourself here. What are your memories in terms of how you shaped to becoming a hardworking young man?
It's interesting because, Dad said he had no choice in terms of, what he had to do and what his parents told him to do, and there was no other option, really. You had to do that. I think I've been very lucky that I have always had a safety net in terms of, Dad, my parents having this business, being able to come here, work, see what it's like, move to Dubai, experience that. But it's interesting that, Dad's story and your generation's story is so much more interesting compared to, I feel, a lot of people I know in my generation, because you guys didn't have that safety net and we did. And so I think our work ethic has changed, or the way we go about things has changed massively compared to how you guys went about things. Yeah. And I think where I get my work ethic from is Dad, and seeing what Dad has done and wanting to emulate that in some way. But it's been a much easier ride for me, so it's difficult to get to the same levels and the same motivations that you guys must have had when you were coming up as well.
Indeed. So
I should add, if I may interrupt,
yes,
that Zia joined us as a T-boy.
Okay.
And has worked his way up. So he's had a hand in everything that goes in running
Brilliant.
a company like ours.
Love that. And when you were the T-boy, it didn't matter. Basically you learned work ethic, and more importantly, possibly you learned humility.
Yes.
Because I think humility and respect is a really, really important attribute to have in the future, and I'll certainly talk about that. Let me throw a data point at you, since we are. Before I throw data points, tell us what Alpha Management does, the way you see it.
We are a corporate service provider, so that entails many, many different aspects. So our core function is helping people set up their business wherever they want to set up their business, and to structure their business however they want to structure their business. And that business can range from a brick and mortar store to rearranging assets for a holding structure, or estate planning or succession planning, whatever it is, any use of a corporate entity. We are there, we can set it up, we help them navigate the many, many and ever-growing array of ongoing requirements and regulatory requirements that one has to fulfill these days. So we're there to support a client from day one, when they have an idea of a business, or they need a structure for any particular reason, to all the way to managing their ongoing daily tasks, admin, whatever it may be, and then all the services that come around that as well. Because accounting these days is more and more important. Dad's a chartered accountant. You need many more things to run and maintain a business these days.
But accountancy is a disappearing profession. In 80% of the work, anything that you're doing which is repetitive in nature, by definition, will go away. Accountants, lawyers, and service providers, all of that is going to go away. So what's going to be left, and the question to both of you, is going to be the human connection,
Correct.
the advisory, the trust, the connection.
I think what I enjoy most about the function I perform here now is meeting new clients, existing clients, and just having the human connection. Just a few days ago, we were talking to a client of ours who is now talking to us about setting up a foundation. And the majority of time we spent in that meeting was how to look after her pets after she's gone. 2 dogs and a cat, I believe. And how she wants to leave the money there and where she wants to leave the money.
Yes.
And that sort of thing, that's what I love most about the job I have. I meet some very interesting people.
Right.
They each has their own issues, each has their own problems.
Yeah.
And they sit here and they just pour out
Yeah.
their background. And it's so nice to actually have that opportunity.
Indeed, and it's about being a trusted advisor,
Yes.
and basically once they start trusting you, that's when they start sharing, and like you said, 80-90% of the conversation will probably be about things that are important to her,
Correct.
and then everything else comes together, which is where I'd like to bring the data point in. There are two data points. One of them is, my thesis is, as a futurist, is that most people don't know what they actually want. And where the world is going to be in 3 to 5 years' time. So, if you were in 1904, and I have a beautiful slide on this one, if you were running a horse and buggies, and somebody came and gave you $1 million and say, "What would you like to do?" and they'll say, "I want faster horses, bigger horses." 10 years later, there wasn't a single horse because Ford had different ideas, and there were only cars. So, in other words, you gave advice and money, but they didn't know what they actually needed. Now, that was 100 years ago. Today, the world is moving really, 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 really fast. And therefore, a lot of the people don't even know where the world is going to be in 3, 4, 5 years' time. And therefore, the advisory role in terms of those steps becomes even more important. What are your thoughts on a client comes and says, set up my company, and this is what I want to do, and then you sort of slow them down and sort of say, these regulations might change and these technologies might move, and is that a conversation you have?
We're starting to have that conversation now. In this region, it is estimated that in the next, by the end of this decade, so 6 years forward, $2 trillion will actually move between generations. And our role now is to really advise the patriarchs, the ones who have the 2 trillion that they want to pass on, are best to manage that in such a way so that the next generation just doesn't believe and live in the money environment, but
Yes.
they recognize other things as well.
Yeah.
There's a limit to how much we can say to them
Sure.
on that front. But yes, this is a busy time for us. With a lot of people, patriarchs and foreigners who came here 40 years ago, at independence in the early 70s, built phenomenally successful businesses,
Yes.
very successful businesses. And the clients we see, by and large, are those who've taught their children the ethics of working hard, not just spending the money, but actually creating and furthering the wealth so as to leave a bigger legacy behind.
It's interesting you're talking about legacy, and I'll get to you on this one, Azia. The data point that I was talking about, that 70 to 80% of the jobs that will exist in the year 2030 do not exist today. So whichever industry you go in, whether you go into retail, hotels, finance, and so on, in 2030, when you walk into a bank, rather than them helping you with your money and account and so on, they'll be helping you fix your AR and VR glasses and your journey into the Dubai Mall with your AR glasses, with all the banking components in your glasses. So it's a different job. It's a completely different job. It's still a customer service job, but it's a different job. So a lot of these jobs are changing. How do you think your job's going to be? What does your job look like in 2030 in your view?
Much more automated. Much more automated in terms of where we're going with AI these days. It's impossible to say as well, right? We have to find ways to adapt to technology and use it for our benefit, as well as using it to replace jobs that don't need to be done anymore. But it's hard to say how this job will change, but you're right that many of the daily admin ongoing tasks for many different businesses, offices, industries will be replaced by automation, AI, whatever it is.
And the challenge here is really my generation still likes the old way of doing things. Thank God. The next generation will not want to come and meet us.
Yes.
Will not want to come and have eye-to-eye contact. Will not want to come and shake your hands because they'll be sitting some foreign country, somewhere or the other, on a beach maybe, and having that discussion with us. So after that, the challenge for us will be to actually have a human contact with them. Because again, maybe the next generation doesn't like me saying this. I see the next generation having less and less human contact and wanting less and less human contact.
The second part I'm more worried about. First one will probably happen very organically. The second one is there. So
You say less physical, less contact and things like that. It's not necessarily less. It's just a different way of living, a different way of contact, a different human touch, right? Who's to say what is a human touch? If you're more comfortable, doing a Zoom call rather than meeting face to face, and that becomes the new norm, then that's the new norm. I don't see how that's detracts from anything else, really.
I think your children are spending or will spend more and more time on machines, iPads, and gaming, and communicate through voice, through the telephone, as opposed to going out and meeting their friends physically, playing games in the garden, that sort of thing.
So it's a really interesting conversation because I think this is really critical. Talking to you earlier, you spoke about the impact of technology and you think it's going to be the single most important thing. Do you think technology is the most important thing going forward, or impact of?
Yes, I do. I think, especially now, I think we're at this point in time where there's a convergence of so many different exciting technologies, right? A few years ago it was the blockchain, now it's AI. There's so much coming together in one space and time that I'm very excited to see where that goes and how it changes. And look, we'll always have to find ways to adapt to it. You didn't use computers or calculators when you first started accounting. Yeah. How much has that helped? Change that industry and change your life.
As an enabling tool, it has helped.
As an enabling tool.
Yeah, so I have a cell phone, and that helps me, a computer, and that helps me, and that helps your dad.
Right.
I'm using it as an enabling tool, but what he is saying is it's about the human touch. What you're saying is about technology. So let me challenge you on this one. And as a futurist, I do this all the time. And my view is that all of these new technologies that you've mentioned, and there are literally about 25, 30 Gutenberg moments. Like Gutenberg invented the printing press and everything changed. Religion changed, education changed, commerce changed, everything changed, one invention, right? Today there are about 25, 30 Gutenberg moments happening simultaneously.
Right.
All happening, they're all exploding. And because of that, we don't even know what the hell is going to happen. Okay, so just learning technology is not enough because it's moving too fast. Human brains cannot cope with that. So what it is and my thesis, and I'm challenging you on this one, is that in this digital world, in this technological world, the more technology we have, that anything that can be digitized will be, because it'll be 1,000,000 times faster and 1,000,000 times cheaper. You're absolutely right there. But anything and everything that cannot be digitized, touch, humanity, heart, soul, spirit, compassion, love, common sense, critical thinking, judgment, ethics, all of these things will be 1,000,000 times more valuable. Technology is not even going to come close to it. It'll only serve us to do things faster, like a cell phone or a computer, or even AI. But this is the future, in my view. The future is human, not technological. Thoughts?
There has to be a world just like now where these things live together, right? So you use technology, you have your phone, you have a computer.
Is it together, or is it a servant? To me, technology is a servant. I'm not together with technology. I'm not married to technology.
Right.
It only allows me to do my work better.
So you're worried that it won't be a servant, master relationship. It'll be a two equal. It'll be an equal
or
relationship.
a dominant position.
Yeah.
That's what I'm concerned with. Sorry, I'll interrupt one more time, and then please, I'd love to hear your response. Last year, Hollywood always takes the lead, right, in terms of what's about to happen. Last year, there were 3 movies I watched: Mission Impossible, we had this. I don't know whether you watched it. It was this rogue AI, which went basically.
Yeah.
Then we had another movie called Stealth. There was this plane, there were 3 planes, and the 4th plane was an AI-driven plane, and it went completely rogue. And basically, because it doesn't have a conscience. And then there was another movie. There were 3 movies, one after the other, all on exactly the same issue. And the issue was AI going rogue and out of control.
I think let me make a point here first before Zia comes in. You're talking of movies in the last 6 months, 1 year. Think about the famous film Space Odyssey 2001 by Arthur C. Clarke.
Yeah.
AI was there. The computer called HAL actually ran the show
Okay. Yes.
and destroyed the humans on that flight.
Yeah.
And that's like 40, 50 years ago.
That's right. Yeah. And absolutely, and these are some of the real visionaries of this. By the way, AI has been around since 1955, around that sort of time. It just came up very slowly, and now it's crossed the inflection point, has taken over. So what Shaukat says is very interesting. It's been going on for a while, but now it's got to the point where it's front and center. It's an integral part of everything that we do. AI is an integral part of our lives. But where I'm going with you is that if you feel that they are equal, if you feel that technology is going to be the single biggest driver, don't you think you're missing a point? Because I think love is going to be a bigger driver. I think humanity is going to be a bigger driver. I think compassion will be a bigger driver, not AI, because that's something which we do.
So love, compassion, whatever, jealousy, whatever feeling you have.
Talk about fun. Forget the negatives. Love is the highest level of vibration. You love your children, right? When you're with them, you vibrate at a completely different level. Doesn't matter what AI is doing.
But AI won't change the way that humans feel about it.
Absolutely, they do.
AI will not change how you feel about your kids, or
What's your best babysitter? It's your iPad.
It will be eventually. It will be, but why is that not another tool that's enabling, learning, education, playtime, stimulating a mind, connecting people with other people?
Sure.
That's another tool that you use.
100% agree.
Humanity won't die because of that. Your feelings of love won't change, or happiness or hate, they won't change. You will still have that. We're not being replaced. Right? Humans aren't being replaced. Maybe certain jobs, certain industries, things like that will have to change and adapt, and new jobs will be created, and new roles will be created, new industries will be created. But that will never, humans will always have to be here to interact with each other and to interact with AI, technology, whatever it is. Technology is a driver, right? As you said, it's a tool, it's a driver. It will drive us to the next stage of humanity, of evolution, whatever that may be in the end.
Okay. I mean, we could have this conversation endlessly, but I know enough about what's going on as a futurist in terms of the contextual shift that's going on to be sufficiently concerned.
There should be concern.
That we are giving technology too much of a position and AI too much importance in our lives, in a lot of our action. I'm a techie. I use all of this sufficiently, but I'm also very, very conscious of my human attributes, and I'm hiring people for their human attributes. In the future, there won't be any degrees, the chartered accountancy or this or that. There will be, how purpose-driven are you? How much vitality, ethics, mindset, flow? Those are the kind of questions. Those are the kind of people, because things will keep changing. You need your basic muscles, which are more human muscles, more purpose-driven muscles, more intellectually creative muscles, as opposed to I know accounting, I know tech, I know machine learning, because all of that is going. Data point, in the next 3 years or so, 2 to 3 years, Amazon will have more robots working for them than human beings, and then it takes over from there. So what is the social and ethical shift when Amazon is hiring more and more people, more and more robots, and more people are now becoming obsolete and becoming unemployed? I think that's a very, very serious question. What thoughts?
Okay, go ahead. I think it's about adapting. Jobs will be replaced. Amazon will replace, warehouse workers with automation, robots, whatever it is. It doesn't mean that it's over. We're right to be concerned about.
It's not over. But in 5 years' time, if you don't make some shifts, it'll be anyway. But
I think
But
the
to,
point-
to
I
take
think
an
point
example,
you
you know, you mentioned horses earlier and stuff like that. What happened to people driving horses and carriages before, you know, Henry Ford came along and invented
they
the
had
car?
to adapt.
And will the same not happen again when this happens?
Substantially, yes. But the only difference between 100 years ago and today is the speed of change.
Mhm.
The ability to adapt to that speed of change. The human mind, the way it's designed, is not ready for it. I use a big statement, and then I'll allow you to come in. A big statement that humans have Paleolithic minds, and we were designed in a completely different way. And then we have systems which are Victorian and medieval, and we have technologies that are godlike. So Paleolithic brains working with godlike technologies, it doesn't overlap, is what I'm trying to say. That the speed and exponential growth is such that the human brain cannot assimilate that at that speed. So what I'm suggesting and proposing is you have technology subservient to us and to serve us, rather than us embracing it to the point where it starts dominating us, because it will work faster than us. By 2029, there's what's called singularity. Technology will never have imagination. It'll never have conscience. It'll never have all of those things. This is what I'm saying. That's why it's more important. But it'll be a million times faster than us, and therefore we will be compromised. So
I think you should get up and climb up on the top of Burj Khalifa and make your speech, because I think you've touched the main point. Concerns going forward. Climate change we discussed earlier on. That's a big issue, obviously. But the other issue in my mind is exactly that. With automation coming along, so many people are going to have to be retrained. With medicine, developments in medicine, they're going to live longer. What are they going to do?
Yeah.
How are you going to produce enough food? What are they going to do for entertainment? These are issues that automation is going to create for us very, very much faster, as you said, because the speed of change now is phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure we have the answers.
We don't, and there's another variable that I'll throw in. And we all have a capitalistic, democratic thinking process. Fundamentally, that's the background we've come from. The hyper-capitalism, as you see it today, where money is literally in the hands of very, very few people, more than money, knowledge of AI and stuff like that is in the hand of 10 companies, maybe 50. They've got the lead, and they know they've got the lead, and they are running away with it. We'll just be little worker bees running after them. So that's problem number one. Problem number two, hypercapitalism. While the oil and gas companies and the pharmaceutical companies are making trillions of dollars worth of money, they have zero incentive to change. Therefore, if they are not going to change, how are we going to get climate change? Because if you have $5 trillion worth of oil exploration and drilling out there in the various seas and then the deserts and so on, they're not going to change. Why would they change? Because they're not going to throw away $5 trillion, because it's so nice to be sustainable. I mean, I had this conversation with somebody yesterday. I said it's all soft and fluffy. But if sustainability is not more profitable than the dirty business, it will not change. The mindset from a young person is, this is not acceptable to me, and therefore I'm not going to do this. That kind of mindset of boycott, of not accepting what is not good for you, because you're going to live probably another 100 years. Okay, and so think like that. You will live another 100 years. What will the world look like in 100 years? And that's your big question. Mm-hmm. Because I promise you, it's not going to look exactly the same as what we can imagine. Our mind goes to about 7 years and then falls off the edge. And then we can start imagining another 5 or 10 years, and then it falls off the edge. We can't think beyond 2040. But if you're now thinking 2100, that's the difference. And as there's another theory that every one year that you live, for over the next 10 years, your life will be extended by 2. And after that, it'll be extended by 4. So if you're 30 today, by the time you're 40, If your life expectancy was 80, it'll become 90. Then by the time you're 50, it'll become 110.
Yeah.
By the time you're 60, it'll become even longer. And all you need to do is remain healthy and, feed your brain. How do you feed your brain? Water, creativity, imagination, do things which use all of your synaptics and so on. So keep your brain fresh. And this is a conversation with the longevity expert that we have in the book, where they said, we'll keep the body alive. What about the brain?
True.
So Parkinson's, dementia, Alzheimer's, all of these things, your brain's sort of getting fried by about 90 or 85, but you're living till 120 is not going to work.
Well, hopefully we'll have the
we can always have brain transplants.
Yes,
Upload the Neuralink.
upload our consciousness into the cloud, AI, whatever. We'll live on in that way. But no, this is where it comes in. You say, imagine what the world looks like in 100 years. This is where we have to be responsible now. We have to, and people are talking about this, and more people are worried about what the future looks like. Climate change isn't new, right? But now we're in a stage where it's reaching a point where we have to do something about it for
It has
future
already
generations.
crossed that point.
It's already crossed that point, and now we have to wind it back and really start thinking about it. But yeah, things won't change when there is a hyper-capitalistic mindset among the very few. So how we change that is something that we need to get on right now, and people are talking about it more and more. So let's see.
But there's a bigger conspiracy with these hyper-capitalists. And that I'm being facetious now. And that big conspiracy is the fact to keep us really, really busy. Because if we keep ourselves really busy, then there's no revolution, there's no rebellion. And Mao Zedong from China used to say that. He said, all I have to do is to keep the worker bees, the workers on the field, so they work 12, 14 hours a day, they are dead tired, they come home, they get a bowl of rice, they have sex and go to sleep. No rebellion, no revolution. That's the only thing they need. And that was the model. That was Mao Zedong's early model. Now that's been changed to our work environment, which is a bloody treadmill. I mean, all it does is that the treadmill incline just goes up, and you just work faster and faster and faster. Other than the ones who manage to get off it and create new value, and there are obviously lots of amazing people who've done that, like you guys. But the world in general has got into a situation where the work environment is such that it doesn't enable us to live our lives and breathe and smell roses and chase butterflies for no reason at all.
Right.
That's sort of where we're losing.
I hope I'm wrong, but I think our generation will have had the best of everything. Seriously, before all these problems come along.
Yeah.
Unless we have some major thinking, major thought changes, major changes in the world. I don't think we just had a COP28 conference here, as you know. Great words. Everyone made lots of promises. I don't know what's going to happen. Probably.
Nothing's going to happen,
problem.
and you know why? Because the biggest contingent there are
Yes.
oil companies
Yes.
and the big finance. That's it. They were here to raise money and to reinvest back into oil and gas for the foreseeable future, because there's just too much money to make. And then part of I presented in Abu Dhabi yesterday, and some of my messages were not well received because I basically said there is no incentive to change. There's a lot of intent, but there's no specific attempt or incentive to fundamentally change the game unless something happens. COVID was there. COVID started teaching us new things. One of the things COVID, in my opinion, is exactly following what you said, started teaching us is, and against on what you were saying, is the importance of human connection. Because people started getting depressed because they're only online. People started losing connection because they were only online. Kids were not happy because they couldn't go to school and play. And COVID started teaching. COVID gave us a lot of positives and acceleration of technologies and this, that, and the other. But one of the key things, two key things I remember from COVID, and I said this very controversially, that COVID should have lasted another 2 or 3 years before we found a solution. One of them was that nature changed. Dolphins appeared. You could see the sky much different. Everything, changes.
Pollution,
Pollution. And so the climate aspect was a major recovery from there. And obviously a lot of the technological shifts that happened got massively accelerated during COVID. So those were great achievements of COVID. But the negatives were things like human connection to me, and not enough habit changed. So the moment COVID finished and we got our little vaccine and stuff like that, we were back to the future. Same old stuff.
But another thing that COVID, I think, also, emphasized and brought out in people and started to change how people think about things. Going back to your earlier point about, keeping the worker bees busy, with this day-to-day lifestyle, just on the treadmill. I think people since that point have realized, there has to be a balance between work life and home life and personal life. People want to have that flexible working schedule. They want to be able to work from home. I'm not saying you cut out all human interaction going into offices, but it's shown that it is much less needed than before, when you guys were working in the banks, 9 to 9 p.m. every day, things like that. People are now thinking, this is not worth it. My mental health is more of a priority. And they are starting, I feel, from what I see and people my age, they will prioritize a happier, healthier working life balance over making money or just climbing the ladders in corporations. So that's something else I think is also changing.
Thank you. So as we come towards the end of this discussion, and you thought we didn't have anything to talk about, so you have to trust me more.
Thank you.
So are you optimistic about the future? Do you feel that humans have enough ingenuity to work this nonsense out?
Ultimately, I think yes, on balance. I think it's going to be forced upon us sooner. But yeah, I don't want to end this discussion by saying I'm pessimistic. The world is coming to an end. I'd like to see more signs that the people that actually make changes and differences in the world are moving towards solving the problems we have.
Indeed,
and I don't see much of that, but I'm optimistic still.
I think if we focus our minds in a positive way and focus the whole of AI towards, let's say, solving climate crisis or solving other issues, I think the capabilities are there. Now, that's where the incentive issues and all of that comes in. Because one of the other things COVID taught us is that science and technology won, because we came with the vaccines and stuff like that very, very rapidly. But politics and society and big governments failed completely because there was no distribution. The south of the world actually had to just get their acts together and recover because the distribution wasn't there, while billionaires and Moderna and Pfizer and stuff like that, they just made a ton of money. So science and technology is pretty good, and we can actually, all we need to do is to have that moral shift, and our moral center has to sort of shift in some ways. From your side, as a younger person with very young children, what are you telling your kids on a day-to-day basis in terms of what they should be looking towards?
I feel more of the responsibility to talk about, as what we said, looking after the earth, maintaining human connection, maintaining human touch, making sure that this is a place that your kids and their kids will want to live in and be safe and healthy and happy. And so I never really thought of that before. And I don't think it's something that, growing up, we discussed that much either, but I feel it is permeating, the collective memory at the moment, and that is something that is exciting because it's only going to grow bigger and bigger, hopefully. And with advances in technology, these are tools that will enable us to do that as well. As you said, if we devote AI to solving climate change, we could do it most likely, in the decade to come. So very excited to see where we go.
I'm going to recommend something drastic to you, for you to, as a takeaway from this interview. And some of the best education systems in the world are out of Finland, and there's another one out of Japan. And I was talking to somebody, till the age of 8 or 9 in Japan, there's very little, learning in terms of books and stuff like that. it's about experiential learning, it's learning about life and so on. In every Japanese school, they have a patch of land and soil and water. And every child is taught how to grow rice. Very simple. But then they learn about earth, they learn about water, they learn about patience, they learn about sowing a seed and something coming out, they learn how to respect that. And it's about, what is it? It's just a plot of land, and they own a piece of land, and they grow their rice. That's their test. Not geography or do crazy homework and stuff like that. And I'm making this statement to you as a young person. I know it's a very jarring comment, but we need to do something in our lives which are fundamentally different, as opposed to more of the same and then just do it faster. So just a bit of advice.
I think the biggest lesson from that is they learn about patience.
Yes.
Today's world is like that. Every youngster wants it immediately.
That's true.
We never did.
Yeah.
And I think that's the big lesson to take forward.
Yeah, indeed. My final question to you, let's put ourselves in a time machine and we go into the future and we're on your 100th birthday and we're celebrating your 100th birthday. So what do you see around you? What's that?
Well, I'm going to be celebrating my 70th birthday very shortly. So I see my life coming towards this last lap. What I see forward for myself, at a personal level, I look forward to seeing my children obviously grow up and settle down and do well in life, but much more my grandchildren. That is my greatest joy at the moment. What I see around me in 100 years' time, I hope we're all wrong. Climate change is going to be there, and our lives will be materially affected from the way we run our lives today. Maybe we won't have fresh air anymore. Maybe we won't be living in air-conditioned bubbles like what we do now. Technology, AI obviously will continue to grow, but I look forward to the personal contact and maintain that contact with my family.
Amazing. And what is your gift to your dad on his 100th birthday?
I think a rice paddy field, so we can learn from the Japanese schools and get a bit of patience. I think, yeah.
I was hoping you would say kind, warm, generous kids. Children that I should provide to him. That would probably be his greatest gift.
I think we already have those now. We have enough.
As they grow up,
we have enough grandchildren.
It's too late.
No, it's not being too late. In other words, how they grow up. If they grow up into kind human beings, I think that's the greatest gift to your dad.
Absolutely.
On that happy note, both of you, thank you very much for being so sporting and chatty and combative and every single way. But it's been a real privilege. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We were talking to Shaukat and Zia, the father and son combo. We had a very energizing conversation and a lot of interaction. I'm delighted to sort of see that we have this sort of dialogue, and I think it's important that we keep talking and start learning from each other. I think there's mutual mentoring here. There is learning from each other. And I think that's an integral part of Voices of the Future, which is now imminent in terms of its launch. We're going to do it very soon, hopefully within the next month. So we look forward to it. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks so much. Thank you.